What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Who You Got with
Mello
and Rado. This is a sports podcast where we talk about your favorite sports highlights, matchups, the stories of today and tomorrow, and the favorite sports debates that you want to hear. So, Mello, how you been?
Oh, I've been good. Loving all the fan support. We're a few episodes in now, starting to get our feet.
That's right. It's our fourth episode.
Yes. A little less nervous each time I get up on the mic. Got a lot of feedback, loving the support, and of course, we got a lot of content, we got a lot of ideas, so we're gonna keep on bringing it. Today specifically, we got first round matchups. Definitely want to go over those. We had a few people excel, a few people exceed expectations, and of course a few people fall short. So those are definitely some things to talk about. We also got the second round predictions. Now we got the cream of the crop going against each other. So we're going to see a few really good teams go against each other. Most of them got real good championship aspirations and chances. So some of them aren't going to make it. So that's going to be tough to see and good to see depending on which side you're on. And, of course, the second week of our series that we started last week called Who You Got Playoff Run, we pretty much go through the decades and pick our favorite playoff runs from our favorite teams and pretty much go through who we think dominated in those couple games and won that championship. So what about you, Yasin? You watched some of those games at the end of the first round?
Yeah, of course. I mean, those are some crazy games. I watched all of them. I have to say, every single game was exciting. Those first round series, even the ones that didn't go exactly 7 games like some people thought they would, those were still exciting because sometimes the team that you didn't think was going to win won.
Oh, great basketball.
I mean, let's talk about what happened just a few days ago with Kawhi Leonard and him beating Luka Doncic in the Game 7. That was incredible. Nobody gave the Clippers a chance. They were down 0-2. Then, they won a few games, tied it up. Then they were down again 3-2. In the 6th game, they were down by 20 points. And then Kawhi Leonard went off in the 4th quarter, finished that game with 45 points. 7th game, they came in, and they just tore it up on offense and held Doncic down on defense. They really tore that game up. Did you watch that one?
Oh, no, for sure. That whole series was literally just riveting, man. I just had so many feelings, ups and downs. I didn't know who I thought was going to win. I didn't know who I wanted to win.
I know. I was really pulling for Doncic for a second, but I just knew that Clippers just had a better team overall.
I mean, definitely I chose them overall, but at the end of the day, Doncic was dropping 35 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists, almost dominating that team by himself.
He was.
That is one of the most... it sucks that playoff performance technically only had to be one round. A playoff performance for the A's.
That should be like a 10-game, 11-game series, right?
And he's starting to show that in the playoffs he could be clutch, man. And I think you said it a few weeks ago, man. He's a future.
He is.
And you said he had to step up.
Yeah.
To show that he's a future, and he almost got there. I mean, come on, you got PG and Kawhi on the other end. At the end of the day, they show that they technically can't dominate a series, but they showed up when it counted. So that was a magical series.
I just know Kawhi had one of the best offensive games he's ever had in the playoffs. 45-point performance. He's never had that in the playoffs before.
The amount of posters,
and he was posterizing people and just really tearing up that whole offense, controlling the offense, making sure that he was controlling the ball and making sure plays were starting with him. That's how he won that game, and they were down by 20. Nobody really thought they were going to win that in the 3rd quarter, and they came back, and then they won Game 7. So I really give it to them. And then we got some other crazy playoff matchups that happened with Trey Young and the Knicks. How about that one? Everyone thought the Knicks had a little bit better shot, but then Trey Young comes out and just tears them up. And not just him, you got to give it to John Collins, Bogdanovich. He was hitting his threes. So what about you? Saw that one, the Knicks and the Atlanta one?
So I'll be honest. Even when the Hawks was overtaking the series, I still was I'm gonna give Randall, I'm gonna give R.J. Barrett, and I'm gonna give D Rose a chance to really step up. But at the end of the day, man, Trey Young is really an element of his own. Obviously, he's not one of the top players, but just realistically, he's clearly in the top 10.
Right.
clearly in the top 10. And
I mean,
he
in his position, I think he's top 5 in his position.
That's what I'm saying. He has some argument to be top 5 PG right now, and he's showing he could step up in big moments in the playoffs, and he loves it, man. Like he's showing now, he's japping, he's going with the crowd, and he's putting up and shutting up. I mean, that's 30 points per game in the first round. 9 assists, 45% overall, 34 from 3, 93 from the free throw. My man is literally just destroying.
It's like a video game for him.
No, literally. And he's always had the ability. He's basically the next Steph Curry, man. He got the handles. He can go inside. He can shoot. He's so crafty. And
I love his little mid-game floater. I
feel like he obviously, like, Steph Curry ain't never averaged the amount of assists he's gonna average. And that's basically, so you literally got Steph Curry, who's a better passer. Oh my God,
who could really and he can make some flashy passes too.
And he's growing up right before our eyes.
I love his mid game is ridiculous. I love how he goes inside, dribbles around players, bigger players, and just takes the floater. Like those floaters are deadly. They really are. And obviously his 3-point game, everyone knows that he can even shoot at Steph Curry range. But you really got to give Bogdanovic a lot of credit in that series, because at one game, he pretty much won by himself. He had 7 3-pointers in one of those games. He really did. And obviously, John Collins was doing his thing all series against a big guy like Julius Randle. I was kind of disappointed by Julius Randle. He didn't step inside the paint more. He was taking a lot of threes this series. And R.J. Barrett didn't really take a step up. But you got to give the most credit to Trey Young, what he's doing. He pretty much took over that series. He showed you why he's one of the top point guards in the game, like you said. I believe that too. I think he's at least like a top 5 in his top 5 young point guard for sure.
And we might have to sit down and actually have that debate.
Yeah. I mean, you got a lot of guys that are young though. I mean, even Doncic is considered a point guard, so there's a lot of guys that are point guards. So we'll debate that for sure sometime.
For sure, but he's easily top 10.
But how about we talk a little bit about the one team that everyone thought was going to move to the second round, but didn't even do it. I mean, the Lakers. What about them? What happened with them, Melo?
I mean, how many finals have LeBron been to in the last 10 years?
Oh, I know. He's dominant. He's been dominating in the playoffs, since the last decade, pretty much. He's been dominating the playoffs. But
man, the Suns came out punching. They got a little sloppy. Came back, fought, got gritty. Lakers got an injury. LeBron had no help but Dennis Schroeder. And I'll be honest, like, Dennis Schroeder might have averaged like 19, 20 points that series. But his points, fucking irrelevant. You didn't make no difference, bro.
Right, a lot of his points were in like fourth quarter.
Yeah, literally irrelevant. Yeah. LeBron, when AD was out, LeBron had no help. His age started showing. His fatigue started showing. And the Suns came and they closed it out, man.
Right.
That was a hell of a series, man.
That was a great series, man. And we just saw why Devin Booker is one of the top shooting guards and one of the top shooters in this game. Like you were talking about, Steph Curry is one of the best. At his position, I think right now, he could be considered the best shooting guard. And right now, I mean, you got guys like Bradley Beal, C.J. McCollum, obviously Jaylen Brown. But other than that,
I wouldn't put him over Bill right now. But top 5.
At his position, I think he's up there, man. It's very like debatable. I mean, I know that Beal is overall like a better scorer right now. Obviously, he was second best in the league this year, but I mean, you see just his progression overall. He's 22 years old.
Potential-wise,
Beal is
sure.
26. I mean,
potential-wise, yes.
And obviously, he just got like one of the best point guards. There's going to be a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer for sure. Chris Paul. He's actually finally getting distributed the ball. Chris Paul's getting 9.3 assists. That's why one of the reasons they were able to beat the Lakers is Chris Paul is actually playing really well in these playoffs, and he's actually showing why he really wants to make it to a finals this year. Like,
my man want his ring.
He's hungry. He doesn't matter who he goes through. It doesn't matter if it's LeBron. It doesn't matter if it's the best guys. He wants to go through the best right now. He wasn't scared at all to see the Lakers.
And he finally got a bunch of young guys who's hungry with him.
Yeah, and even Ayton was actually eating up rebounds in that series. He got a lot of offensive rebounds. He was averaging 5.4 offensive rebounds in that whole series. I mean, that's crazy. Like, he was getting over guys like Andre Drummond, and guys like LeBron, and obviously they got Montrezl Harrell, so big guys, and he's eating up the paint. So that's a big reason they were able to get like a lot of putback dunks. That was a great series though, and honestly, it's gonna be crazy to see what the Lakers are gonna do next year and who they pick up. And
oh no, the future of that organization is definitely gonna be just the most talked about in the
for
offseason.
sure. In the
So we're
offseason,
definitely all gonna wonder what LeBron's gonna do next, or who's gonna.
Yeah, I heard like
who's gonna
already
come.
like rumors from some sources, of course anonymous sources. Oh, are they trading AD? I'm like, oh my god, already? You guys are talking about this? Like, oh
my man's
of course
NBA
not.
champion.
But like,
I get it. He get injured, but
of course that's
day,
not gonna happen. Like Lakers would
about to
never do
trade
that.
him.
It's just
No.
like how crazy like LA land is. That's the whole like media landscape. That's where we
Them-
are right
it's
now. It's
like,
like
when
one
you-
thing happens and then they just blow it out of proportion. Like
when you got the Lakers and when you got the Celtics, like some of the most historic franchises, they demand excellence. The fans demand excellence. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Especially now you got LeBron and AD on the team.
Right.
To fall short like that, yeah, they are not happy at all.
exactly.
They
I
are
mean,
not happy at all.
I know he definitely needs one more person. I know LeBron wants that. He wants that third person. He wants to have
Yeah.
like
He didn't have
he wants to
nobody
have
else
what they
step
got in
up.
Brooklyn. Exactly what they have in Brooklyn.
Kuzma, my man.
He wants it there. I know.
Trade that man for a fucking bucket or something.
Yeah, I know. Kuzma didn't step up
Bucket
at
of
all in the
chicken.
playoffs. He really didn't.
Trash.
I mean, and like you said, Schroeder, he
Like I said,
wasn't
irrelevant. But even though
relevant.
you got those teams, it's really good to see some of the young bucks start to shine and start to show up. And the dynamic of these playoffs are totally
They got
different.
nice
than what
guys. They got
normally
Horton
are.
Tucker, who they're gonna keep. They got some nice
Well, I'm
guys.
not specifically talking about the Lakers team.
Okay,
I'm just talking
yeah,
about young
okay.
guys in the league.
In the league, yeah. All
Just
right.
showing what they're made of right now in
Of
these
course,
playoffs.
bro.
You got a lot of teams that you thought was gonna make it that didn't make it. A lot of teams that didn't get the oomph that they were supposed to get
course.
when the right time and just kind of fell short. And right now you got a lot of young guys up there, just really like, all right, it's our turn now.
Doncic almost
So I
had that
definitely-
series by
yes, yes.
himself.
I definitely love this
Jason Tatum was
playoffs.
out there by himself.
For
you had
sure.
young guys that were like trying to do it by themselves. Obviously, Trey Young, he had a
Oh,
few guys, but he was
yeah.
still like taking over games
That's what
by
I'm saying.
himself.
You got these young cats taking over teams and
It's a
deciding
new
that we're
era
doing
of the
this.
NBA. I actually
Yes.
saw a new stat.
Passing of the mantle.
I saw this stat that just came out that the teams that are in the second round haven't won a title in the last 38 years. The last person to win the finals out of these 8 teams was the Philadelphia 76ers in 1983. So this is going to be a brand new NBA
That's what I said,
champion.
the dynamic
So it's a brand
of
new
the
like
NBA
other teams
playoffs
are
has
actually getting
changed so much
chances.
this first
Like
round.
even some smaller cities, getting chances to actually move and try to get that chance to get into the finals run. So this is going to be so exciting. And we got
Love
some
it.
great second round matchups. So
That's a
you want to go
fact.
through like some of these matchups that we got right now? Because
Yes.
these are crazy.
So right now, let's go with this has probably got to be the best matchup we could find right now, and that's Nets versus Bucks. We got 2-1 series in the regular season with the Nets, so they won both those games. And there was towards the end, they had a nice little series going on there, where they went back and forth, just going hand with each other. With that, man, it's so hard because I think that's gonna be a real tough series. I love what the Bucks are doing. When you got 5 people scoring double digits right now in the playoffs, Giannis with 25, Middleton with 20, Lopez with 17, Holiday with 16, and Ford's been out there shooting his thing with 13 points per game. You know what I'm saying?
What?
Obviously, they got big men, they got defense, they got offense. Nets don't got no defense, but you got 32 from KD, 25 from Kyrie, and 23 from Harden. So as long as Harden comes back, and Joe Harris keep doing what he's supposed to do, I really think that's gonna be a real tough series. But I just think the better. Come on, you got the 3-headed juggernaut over there, man.
3-headed monsters out
Like,
there.
what are you
Chimera.
gonna do, right?
Chimera's
Like,
out there.
what about you? What do you think about that series? What
It's
do you
gonna
got?
it's gonna be a pretty good series to watch. I mean, we got like some obviously big names in this. We got like some some of the best stars in the NBA and superstar for sure. NBA MVP winners as well. Like you got
Multiple.
KD, Harden, obviously Antetokounmpo. So that's insane right there, obviously. But I just think that Brooklyn is a little bit too much for Milwaukee at this point. I saw what Milwaukee was doing in the first round, and they were just tearing up the first round. Obviously, their 3-point shooters were hitting it every single game. Their 3-pointers were in the first round were at 45%. So if they can do like some of those same things in this round, then they're gonna make it a lot tougher. But I mean, you saw like Blake Griffin got 14 points and 12 rebounds in game 1 as a center, and they played him as a center.
Right.
Like they're playing a small lineup. And Blake is usually like obviously the power forward. Him at 6'9", playing center is like unheard of. But him playing out there, they got guys like Brook Lopez and Giannis that are they're big guys. So obviously for him to even get those rebounds over them, that's something. They're proving that they can start a small lineup and still win. And Brooklyn has just too much firepower. Even when Kyrie doesn't go
can't
off,
keep up with
you
them.
just can't. I mean, last series they scored 100 points, just the three of them, Harden, KD, and Kyrie. Like, how do you stop that? 100 points from three guys.
You
like,
can't keep up with them at all.
sometimes I just think the better team is gonna win this one. And honestly, in this one, I got this one 4-1. How about you? What you got in this one?
4-1 who?
I know. This is one of the series
You
that a
think
lot of people.
the Bucks are gonna win only one game?
So listen, let me break it down a little bit more, because just the way that Blake played in game 1, he just dominated. I know he might not play like this every game, but they still got other guys on the bench. They still got Trey Jordan out there, who can get minutes. They still got guys like Joe Harris, who's actually shooting threes.
Yeah, he's shooting nice.
Like I said, in the last series, Brooklyn in one game, 3 of them got 100 points. I don't see why they couldn't do that same thing again. Milwaukee's not that great at defense. They're 12th right now in defensive rating. So they're really in the middle of the pack. So I see this. Obviously, these games are going to be very high scoring. If the Milwaukee can do what they were doing last series and shoot a lot of threes and make it, then maybe it might be a little bit longer. But I just got it 5 games just because I think they just got too much firepower. Who you got this one, though?
I mean, I got the Nets too, but I got to go in 7. So for me, the difference is
a lot of difference.
The Bucks destroyed the first round, but they have a tendency of not making it deep in the playoffs. And then you got the Nets, who pretty much destroyed this first round. We won a game, Celtics won a game, but no one knows what they are at full strength here. Like, obviously they're doing their thing, but they're still figuring shit out, especially on defense. So I think it's going to be a tough series. I mean, I maybe could give it 6. Like, if it goes 6, I literally wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm hoping, I just really hope for best basketball. So I just love,
right.
Well, these two teams, come on, please give us 7 games.
I
Literally,
know.
please give. But I could see 6. So I'll go 7 for now. We'll see how the series fold out. But easily, definitely got Nets winning for sure. And that's what I said. Like, it's one of those series where the Bucks could go deep, but now you got the Nets and Bucks already facing each other.
See, it's
and
tough,
it's
and I know I'm taking
who's gonna make it, who's not.
I know I'm taking a different route, because obviously Milwaukee, they did great in the first round, and Brooklyn, they did all right. They didn't have really a challenge with Boston. They lost the game, and they did have a challenge in Game 5 a little bit for a second.
And that's and Tatum had to drop 50.
He did. He had to drop 50 by himself, and then the next game he had to drop 40, and they still lost, unfortunately. And that just what happens in the NBA. You just can't do it by yourself. But
for sure,
that's one of the reasons why I'm saying this. Like, Middleton is the one guy that didn't play that well in that first series from Milwaukee. He only shot the ball 36% from the 3. He's usually over 40 easily, over 42, 43%. So, if he actually steps it up, then I could see them actually going 6. But I just got this 5 game. Just watching game 1, they already dominated. It's a 1-0 series. They're still in Brooklyn,
right?
And I just don't see it that much firepower losing. I mean, you saw what Brooklyn did in Boston. They lost their game in Brooklyn, but when they're away, they can still win. And this season they were great away.
Easily.
So this is gonna be a great series, though. Great series to watch.
Nah,
a lot of firepower, a lot of scoring. Like I said, a lot of scoring. So it's gonna be a good one to watch. But we'll see as the series goes on. We'll definitely talk about it. And then we'll see what happens. But what's the next one that we got to talk about? What's the next series that's on schedule?
We got Phoenix Suns versus Denver Nuggets. Nuggets took that series 2-1. When you got one team that's very well rounded with the Nuggets with an MVP candidate, and you got Booker basically matching him in scoring, and just another couple of role players really trying to step up. You got Booker with 30 points, Ayton with 16, Payne with 12, Crowder with 12, and of course CP3 getting his 7+ assists. On the other end, you just got double digit scoring everywhere. Jokic with 30 as well. Michael Porter Jr. stepping into his own, going the fuck off.
He went ham first round.
Destroying in the first round, 19 points per game, 16 points from Monte Morris, Aaron Gordon with 13, and you still got Austin Rivers with 12.
Well, they're getting great
deep.
points
That's
from
what
other
I'm saying.
people, and they need it.
They're getting everywhere
because they're missing obviously Jamal Murray.
Can Ayton stop Jokic? Can anyone else step up scoring wise?
That's gonna be crazy.
If Jokic starts tiring out Ayton, who's gonna step up besides Booker? You know what I'm saying? Can Michael Porter Jr. keep it up? Is he gonna start slowing down, start falling short, get a lower percentage, start jacking up? Like, these are all good questions. So
that's so funny because I just had that one of those questions that I had was the Jokic versus Ayton matchup.
Yes.
Like
that's gonna be a great matchup.
A great matchup, and
Ayton's
obviously
the next level, next generation
big man. He's actually able to go mid range and even outside. He's able to shoot outside. Obviously, Jokic, we know what he can do. He can shoot outside all he wants. And right now in the playoffs, he's the number one shooter in the playoffs. He's got the most points, in the playoffs. 33 points a game, along with 10.5 rebounds and 5 assists. This is in the first round, of course.
Right.
And he's just dominating right now. I mean, he pretty much dominated the last series by himself.
Easily.
We didn't really get much chance to talk about that one, but obviously, when Dame Lillard had that 55 triple-double performance, everyone talked about it, but everyone missed out to see that Jokic had 10 points in the overtime periods by himself, so he was able to pretty much keep his team in the game by himself while, Damian Lillard was doing his thing. Of course, Damian was killing them by himself as well.
Oh, yeah.
But Jokic was actually able to keep his team, settled, getting his mid-range, his three-pointers, he's able to go outside and going against, this team is going to be tough. Him.
Oh, for sure.
Him against Ayton. Obviously, we're talking about that. Those defensive matchups are going to be crazy. Is Ayton going to be able to go outside? And I had a question too. Like, this might make the team actually play a little bit more fast break offense. Because if they make Ayton step outside in the three, and let's say Jokic doesn't make it, then CP3 is going to get the rebound. Devin Booker's going to get the 3 on. They're going to start playing fast break basketball, push it outside, and maybe get the three themselves or lay up inside. So it might be a little bit faster pace for Suns. And I really think this is going to be the toughest series out of all these series that I've been watching, and really out of all these games that I'm looking at. And I think this one's gonna go down to the wire. But you got some great matchups. Obviously, I still want to see what Devin Booker does. I still want to see, if CP3 can do what he's doing. He got a little bit injured in the first round with his shoulder. Is he going to be able to go through the playoffs without, getting a bigger injury?
See Crowder guarded MP3.
Of course, you got them. You got Michael Bridges actually getting 13 points a game, and he's getting 3 dunks a game, which is great for them to go inside and actually get shots like that. Because really, Phoenix is more of a 3-point shooting team. So when you're able to get stuff inside with Ayton, with Michael Bridges, you're able to get some good shots that are obviously high percentage shots. But who you got for this series?
So this, like I said, you got scorers all around. But at the end of the day, I don't trust Ayton to stop Jokic. The Nuggets are gonna keep running the offense through Jokic until someone can show that they can stop him, and as long as everyone keeps stepping up, they're the better team. I know Suns had the better record, but I still think the Nuggets right now are the better team. Because like I said, besides Ayton, Crowder, he gave you 12 on a weak and horribly defensive Laker team.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was only 6 games. I understand. It's still a series, but
he's a good defender, but
I don't trust him offensively. So,
right.
So like I said, if Ayton starts getting tiring out, starts having to really put in work guarding Jokic, who else is gonna step up on that team?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Is CP3 gonna be completely healthy? Those are questions. Right now, we got a couple different people on the Nuggets showing out and hitting up. So, yeah, I definitely got it going 4-6. 4-2 in 6 games with Nuggets, though. Yeah. 4-2.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Wow.
What about you? Who you got? I know you got a. Wait, no, I don't know. Who you got.
Yeah. So this series. Obviously the Nuggets are actually the underdog. So you got the underdog winning it. Suns are the number 2 seed.
I don't trust the Suns yet.
Nobody really does. This is the first time making the playoffs, in a while. Obviously, CP3 is a new player on the team, and, DeAndre Booker's just starting.
I felt like CP3 had to come back to save that series.
He did. And it was pretty much because of him and Booker. He went lights out. He went Black Mamba.
He really did. Sure.
And he actually said that himself afterwards. He dedicated one of the games to Kobe, when he played. So he definitely, has that, that mentality in him. But I got this one 4-3. This is the most interesting series. And I got the Suns winning this one.
Ooh.
So we got a differential on this one. Like I said,
I won't even be mad at it, but I actually know I will. If Jokic don't make it to at least the conference finals, I will be mad.
Oh, what? You're not gonna give him the MVP if it doesn't make it? Well,
no, I just want him to be that close to a ring.
Right. Of course. But I just think the Suns actually have too much firepower. You saw what they did against LA, and LA has a similar style team to Denver. If you think about it, like if you look at Michael Porter Jr., he's obviously not LeBron, but he has the same style body as LeBron. He likes to shoot threes. He likes to go inside. And obviously,
Denver's a way better shooting team.
Of course, they got Jokic
than Lakers right now, though.
They are, and they got guys like Monte Morris.
And Lakers were flat on their fucking foot.
They didn't shoot defense, great, Lakers. Bro. But in the regular season, the Lakers were shooting good. The Lakers actually had a good 3-point team, and they were one of the best offenses in the league. They were top 5, I believe, top 5 or top 10. And I know that their 3-pointers were really great in the first half of the season. Obviously after AD and LeBron went down, they couldn't get as many shots because people were doubling guys, so it was a little bit tougher for them. But in the beginning of the season, they were great. But the reason why I think that they might win this one is they're playing a great style of play. Obviously, Ayton did what he did against AD. I think he might be able to do some of the similar things what he's doing, to LA. To Phoenix. I'm sorry, to
the Nuggets.
To the Nuggets, and to Jokic. And like I was saying before,
I hope so.
If Jokic doesn't hit those threes, he's gonna be pulled outside. There's not gonna be that much size in the middle. They're gonna do a lot of fast breaks. They're gonna be able to push the ball a lot more. It's gonna be fast-paced basketball. A lot of threes. You're gonna have like a lot of their guys actually, attempting threes. Right now, their bench is attempting, the guys that are playing on the bench over 10 minutes, which is 5 guys right now, they're attempting 4 threes a game.
Oh.
You got 5 guys that are doing
team?
that. On Phoenix right now.
Oh.
They're attempting 4 threes a game, so that's great.
For
right
me,
there.
it's the opposite. You said if Jokic can't hit threes, for me, if they can't stop Jokic in the paint, then the shooters who literally have clearly been hitting their ass off for the first series are gonna keep hitting their ass off.
Right, I see.
And that's Michael Porter Jr., Monte Morris, Aaron Gordon, and Rivers.
Right.
Going off.
I definitely
still gonna be it's still gonna be a tough series. Like I said, I don't trust the Suns. But they're number 2 for a reason. They just took down the defending champs.
They did. Plus, my question here was the same thing: is Michael Porter Jr. gonna be able to do what he did in the first round in the second round? Last year we didn't see him doing this.
Nah.
Even in the regular season, he really wasn't doing this. He just started doing this. That's what we saw when he was in college. After he got injured, we all knew that he shouldn't have got drafted where he was. We all thought he was gonna be top 5.
Steal.
We both thought he was gonna be top 5. And when he went on Denver, I just knew that he was gonna need a little time, to develop. Obviously after the knee injury. Right. But, you see him now, he's doing his thing, and he's doing exactly what we thought he was going to do. But if he stays consistent, then, this is going to be a great series. I just think that right now, the Suns, there's too much,
I hear you.
They're right now, they're at home. They were 29-5 in the regular season, For them to do that, they lost, obviously, the games they lost to L.A.
Right.
was in a playoff, so obviously that's against L.A., but them playing at home, them having the home field advantage. I got the 7 games, and if it's a 7th game in Phoenix, I think it's gonna be a roaring stadium. I think that
Booker's gonna go off.
I think Booker is gonna go off. I think that this is gonna be a series to watch. This is gonna be a great series to watch.
Yes.
And it's gonna be a really, really good one with the people, the young stars as well.
Right.
Jokic and Booker going against each other. Maybe like 1 or 2 times we'll see that as well, because
I said, the passing of the mantle, the young Bucks taking over series and trying to move on closer to that ring.
Exactly.
You really might have someone under the age of 30 leading the team winning a ring this year.
That's true. And in this next series too, we got some young Bucks too. Let's talk about this next one, right?
We got the Hawks and the 76ers.
That's right.
So you got Trey Young over there, just pretty much. Obviously, he got a bunch of young role players with him, but he's just taking over by himself. We already talked about what he did with the Knicks, so he's just destroying over there. And then on the other end, at the end of the day, you got one of the best teams in the league right now in the 76ers. Sixers took that series 2-1. Basically, Trey Young went for 30 plus. had mad assists. We already talked about Bogdan. Collins and Capella coming off that screen, basically destroying. And even Hunter and Hirota doing their thing with 10 plus points, and Gallinari with 9. So, you literally had...
Gallinari's actually playing like his old self, like when he was back in New York.
You literally got 6 people scoring double digits, and the 7th person's right under it with 9. And then on the other end, you got Embiid with 27, Harris at 24, Seth Curry really stepping up, learning how to do his thing, shooting with 17, and then Ben giving you a 16, 9, and 9. So it's a lot of action going on over there, a lot of good offense, a lot of good basketball. One end you got one of the best guards, and the other end you got one of the best big men. That's what you love to see. You love to see the matchups and the mismatch, so you want to see what it is. Philly's long, tall, physical.
That they are, for sure.
It all comes down to stopping Young. What about you? What do you think about the series?
Yeah, this might be a tough one. I mean, obviously Trey Young played amazing last series. We already talked about that, and Philadelphia did what they did in the first series. I mean, we got to talk about a little bit about that Hack of Simmons strategy. Like, is Atlanta going to try to pull some of that off? That's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, that was a big strategy in Game 5, Game 6.
Hopefully, it'll teach his bitch ass how to shoot.
He needs to. He was shooting 2 for 14 at one point in the playoffs. Like that's you can't do that when you're on a championship team. But it is going to be interesting to watch that point guard matchup. You got Trey Young versus Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is obviously a lot bigger than Trey Young, so watching him play defense on him is going to be interesting. Is Trey Young going to be able to maneuver around him like he always does? Like we were saying before, Trey is getting his points. He's getting 30 points a game. And Bogdanovich is averaging 18.5 these playoffs, and they need every one of it. Like, they really do.
No, they really do.
Yeah, he's getting 43% from the three-point line, and they're just they're drilling it. They're really drilling it. And he's getting good defense on him, too. He's not just getting, little cakewalks. He's not getting those screens and shots. He's actually dribbling it, then getting his shot, or a step back and getting the shot, which is great. It's good to see him actually move with the ball a little bit because, usually Trey is the only one with the ball in the regular season. You saw Trey pretty much controlling it,
ball
getting
in his
9.5
hands
assists.
is so dangerous.
Yeah, so Bogdanovich, like right now, he's obviously averaging 4 points more than he was in the regular season. So that's great to see. Obviously, we got Embiid on the other side. We got Ben Simmons on the other side. Ben Simmons, he was doing great in the first round. He was averaging almost a triple-double. He was, I think, 1 assist away from averaging a triple-double, which you'd like to see. But his points were only at 13 a game, so you'd like to see him at least go up to like 17, 18. That's ideal.
Right.
But what I saw was that they're able to come back from games in the first round, and beyond, they're going to be able to come back playing tough teams. Even if teams are up by 10 points on them, they'll actually be able to come back. They have scorers on that team. They got Danny Green. They got really great shooters that can actually make a shot, and also they got big guys that can get that rebound and pass it back out. Embiid.
Right.
You got obviously my boy Dwight Howard, who I always thought was one of the greatest rebounding centers of all time.
Yeah,
as far as the rebounding centers,
yeah.
I really think he's always been one of that. And offensive rebound, he's able to do great at. And right now he's obviously on the bench, getting around like 14 minutes a game. But I don't know who you got in this series. Who you think is gonna win this one? It's a tough one.
Well, like I said, Philly got the bodies to guard Trey. They just have to figure out the game plan on how to get him uncomfortable, not allow him to do what he wants to do. I'm going to go with my gut and say Philly will find out a way to do that. They do have the better team. So I'm going to go 4-2, 6 games, or 4-2 Philly. What about you? Who you got?
You know what? We got this one the same thing.
Nice.
I got 4-2 Philly as well.
For sure.
I think this is going to be a tough one too, though.
Still a good series.
You never know. Trey Young could always go off 1 game, 2 games, 3 games even.
Right.
And he can make it a 7-game series, but I think Philadelphia's got too much for him. I think even seeing that they can come back from teams, when they can come back from a 15-point deficit in the fourth quarter, to make it from 1 possession to win the game, then that's a championship team. That's what you really got to see.
Seth hitting.
Exactly. When you got
trouble.
When you guys and honestly, even Embiid is hitting threes. He's out there hitting threes. You don't really want to see that. You don't want to see him go for like 3, 4, 5 attempts a game, but 1 or 2 is fine. 1 or 2 attempts is fine a game.
Right.
But you want to see him obviously body people up. I'm always wondering, because I saw him a little bit injured in in one of the games in the first round. So is he going to be okay, throughout all these series if they keep going on and on? What's going to happen with him? Because will Ben Simmons be able to really take over a game by himself? But
right.
Toby's balling out right now. They got other guys that are really doing great. Toby's averaging 18.5 a game as well. So if he can match up against Bogdanovich, and Tobias is a way bigger body than Bogdanovich, I think he can actually play good defense on him. In
Tobias too, they got the bodies.
Yeah. I mean, in one of the games, Atlanta shot 75% from the field, the first round. So I don't think that they're going to be doing that every game of the series. So when they go back down,
not at all.
They go back down to showing the 45, 50%. You're going to see how they really play against Philly, and Philly can hit their threes. So I got this one 4-2. I think Philly's going to move on in this series as long as Embiid stays healthy, though. That's the caveat.
As long as they find a way to not stop Trey Young. But stop something.
Yeah.
That he's trying to get him uncomfortable.
See, I think
everyone else ain't gonna hit everything like the rest of the. They're not gonna keep hitting the shooting lights out.
Here's the thing, man. Is Doc Rivers? I think the coach is gonna be able to do what he can to hold that matchup down.
Doc's a great coach. He's gonna look at that.
One of the best. He's a Hall of Famer, of course.
He's gonna look at that first game and make some adjustments. He's all right. This is what we have to take away.
Exactly, and he saw what happened in the first round.
Let's take away these alley oops. We'll live with the open threes. We'll try to see if we can rotate in time. They're not gonna keep hitting. Like at the end of the day, that's what you got to do when you get to the playoffs. You got to take away one of their best strengths. And just live with the rest. Are they going to
take away Capella and John Collins?
I think they're going to take away. Yes, I think
they're going to take away.
I feel like they should, because at the end of the day, you can't expect them to keep hitting at that clip.
I think they should double team Trey Young. That's what I think they should do. I think they
tried. They tried already first game once he went off first half. And basically, once they started double teaming him, he found the open shooter.
True.
And then once they started letting him by himself, he was finding the open oop man. I think you gotta let them live with the open shooter. At the end of the day, it's a three and die league.
And that's one reason why I think they need to double at least Trey Young, because
they probably should double that nigga from the beginning.
Yeah. And in the first game, I mean, they were shooting like 70%. Like, they're not gonna shoot that every game. No way.
That's what I'm saying. Not at all.
Like, they're gonna be shooting around 40-50%, even if they do shoot great. So if they double Trey Young, he's not gonna be getting 30 points a game. He's averaging like 30-35. You can't let him get his. If he gets like 20-25 points a game, obviously, if they stop him at 20, then that's great. If they keep him at 25, then all right, then you're keeping him, manageable, where you can actually keep this like a low-scoring game, play great defense, because Philadelphia obviously is one of the top defensive teams in the league right now.
Right.
I think they might be number 1 or number 2 right now in the league. In the defense,
you gotta make them uncomfortable coming off that screen, man.
And obviously Capella versus Embiid is gonna be really nice to watch. 2 of the best blockers in the game right now that we see. So that's gonna be a great one to watch. But
for sure,
I think Philadelphia just too much power for them. I think
easily.
Like Ben Simmons is too much size. He's gonna be able to learn how to play against Trey Young in the next few games. This is a long series. Like I said, you got Embiid. As long as he's healthy, this is gonna be a 4-2 series. It's gonna be an easy one for them
for sure.
Yeah, and then we got one more.
One more series.
In this last one, we got another big fella with that plays some great defense, and also some other great MVP winners, or one that was MVP winner.
Oh yeah, we definitely got some great players. We got the Clippers and the Jazz. Surprisingly, Jazz took that series 2-1. They are the first seed.
They did.
Best record. So you got a bunch of players on each side. A bunch of superstars and all-stars. Kawhi giving you 32 in the playoffs. PG 13 with 24. Reggie stepping up a little bit with 15, and Moore stepping up a little bit with 11. Remember, they got a deep team, a good shooting team, a good defensive team. You know what I'm saying? They're great overall. But then you got, in my opinion, an even better, great overall team. You know what I mean? Not necessarily excelling. They might not have the superstars, but they got where it counts.
Guy that's a star, semi-superstar star. He's up there.
I mean, yeah, you got Donovan Mitchell scoring 28 points a game. Mr. Sixth Man of the Year, Clarkson scoring 19. Bojan with 18. Colin Gobert with 17, and you got Royce coming off the bench with 11. So that's what I'm saying. They can score everywhere. They got good defense. Great Sixth Man of the Year winner, Defensive Player of the Year winner. Donovan stepping up. So that's just gonna be an amazing series, man. What about you? How you feel about this matchup?
I agree. I think it's gonna be an amazing series too. I mean, you got Clippers. They came back from 2-0. Obviously, last series, and then it was 3-2. They were down 20 points in the 6th game, and Kawhi just had to go off. He had to have 2 of the greatest offensive nights in the playoffs. In Game 5, he had 45 points. And, after that, in Game 6, he had 45 points, and in Game 7, he had 36, and he was able to stop Luka Doncic from doing what he was doing. Obviously, they made it on to the next round, and Utah had a little bit of time, to wait. So, you had guys resting. You had guys like Donovan Mitchell who were doing great in the first round, and obviously, Jordan Clark's there. He won the 6th Man of the Year, so you got to give him some credit. He was averaging 18 points a game in the first round, and somebody like Gobert, I think he might win this year's Defensive Player of the Year award, and obviously he's already a 2-time winner, so if he wins it this year, then he might be a 3-time winner. So obviously him playing this series is going to be very crucial for them. It's a weird series to look at because you got guys that don't really match up together.
Right.
Like you got Donovan Mitchell, who's more like a shooting guard, but he really holds the ball like a point guard. So he's not really going to match up with Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, and also Rudy Gobert is not going to match up with any of these guys. So
Right.
it's going to be more inside outside game. I think that Utah's going to have to do a lot more pick and roll game. They're going to have Donovan Mitchell with the ball going in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Pick and roll with Rudy Gobert. Obviously, Gobert's been really great when he's in the middle. He's only averaging, 17 right now in the playoffs. But, him and Royce together, which are the big men, they're averaging pretty much 27 and that's pretty much in the paint because Gobert doesn't shoot threes. He's not like other big men.
Right.
He doesn't shoot threes like that. So it's pretty much those 2 guys that are really tearing up the paint. And I really think that this is going to be an interesting series. But one team, obviously, you see that they have a little bit more firepower than the other team. They have a lot more bench than the other team. So it's going to be tough to see this really go 7 games, but I don't know who you got for this one.
Oh, so this is actually wild. Going through the predictions and the matchups before the show started, I honestly was like, you got 2 superstars against what I feel like might be just a little bit better overall team. Even though Clippers got some really good stats.
They are a great team. They're the number 1 team in the West for a reason.
Exactly. They got the record and stats to prove it.
Right.
They almost let Doncic beat them. By himself.
Yeah. KP wasn't really doing too much. Yeah.
So before the show started, I was like, until the Clippers can show me they could dominate a series, I'm gonna go 4-3 Jazz. But it's crazy because as we were just talking about it, and I'm like, the domination that Kawhi really showed it towards the end.
I know, man.
I'm like, you know what? Just the fact that we're going on record and I have to actually say something on record and not just decide in my head.
Right.
I'm like, fuck, I gotta go 4-3.
Sometimes
Clippers.
you gotta go with your gut.
Yeah.
What? Well, so wait, what
So
are you going?
I'm switching. That's what I'm saying. Before the show,
4-3.
I had the Jazz 4-3, but as we were talking, letting it marinate, really
That's
just
awesome.
amazed by that last game Kawhi had.
I know.
I'm hoping, and like I said, a lot of my predictions are based off my hopes.
Yeah.
I
that's
just
good.
this is what I
that's
want.
good.
I hope this series go this way. So, I hope Kawhi just keep on rolling.
Exactly.
And either way, I think that series is gonna go 7. I won't care. I won't be mad. I kind of do want to see the Clippers and Nuggets in the next round. I would absolutely love that. Clippers and Nuggets versus Nets and Sixers moving forward. So that's why I'm gonna go Clippers. But at the end of the day, if the Jazz pull that out, I wouldn't be at the least be surprised. So just because we're going on record, I'm gonna switch it up and say 4-3
7. Wow.
Clippers.
That's
what about
crazy
you? Who do you got?
Wow. So like I said, this one's gonna be a crazy series. This is gonna be an interesting series
Oh, yeah.
because you got matchups that don't really go together, so you don't really know who's gonna really go off in this series. Like it could be Donovan Mitchell one game, it could be PG actually one game. Obviously Kawhi, what we saw in the playoffs isn't vindictive of what he's been doing.
He should be going off every game.
I know, but he's not really a 30 per game shooter, and right now he's averaging 30 per game, and that's not what he's been doing in the playoffs. When he was in Toronto, he was averaging 25. They had other guys scoring, but he was obviously playing his defense. But right now with this Clippers team, it's weird that you see him play more offense.
He got something on his chest.
He does. He
and can't just let it slide this time.
That's for sure. And then they picked up.
He almost did again.
I know. And he took over Game 6 and 7. He proved why he wants to like win a ring. Obviously,
Right,
with this
right.
team, that's why he went there. He went there for a reason. He didn't go there just because it's LA. He might have for like a slight reason, but the bigger reason was to win a ring in the Clippers arena. I'm sorry, and for the Clippers team
Right,
in
for
the
sure.
Staples
In the-
Center,
right.
where
They
the
want to be
Clippers have
big
never
brother.
won.
And now they got a chance this year to
That
be
was the
big
whole
brother.
point. Exactly. The little brother got a big. Obviously, they have a chance to be the big brother because the big brother not even in the game right now.
Big
so
brother went home crying.
it's gonna be interesting, but I got this one a 6-game series. I think Clippers are gonna win.
Really?
I think
Is that
Clippers are gonna
easy?
win this in 6.
You think they're gonna roll over from the game-winning 7 and just dominate?
I do. I think that the last 2 games proved like what they can show. Like in Game 6, Game 7, if they really play together, and guys like guys like Gobert can actually really take him inside and win that inside basketball. Because I mean, guys like Zubac, I don't really see them really taking too much attention out of the paint. And obviously they do have they got DeAndre Cousins as a backup, so he might play some minutes because they didn't play him last series because they didn't really need him. But if he does play this series, then he'll be matched up with Gobert, so he's not gonna get too much like dominant minutes like on offense. But as far as defensive rebounds and stuff like that, he will get. But if we see Kawhi do what he did last series, then it's over.
You got the best defensive man in the game against.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the best, but I'm definitely positive it's top 5 shooting teams in the game.
Yeah.
So, but
And
now,
I know
mind you,
remember we were like debating on that. Like definitely Devin Booker's got to be up there too because Donovan Mitchell's like a shooting guard as well.
No. So I don't mean shooting guard. I mean shooting team. So the Clippers are top 5 in shooting threes.
Oh yeah, they are.
And then you got one of the best paint men. So it's like
right.
Now does the shooting threes and being open come from driving in the paint? And will that be taken away?
Right.
Having Gobert,
Right.
so that's why I think that's gonna be an interesting series,
Passing it out,
and it's gonna be a little tougher because they might not be able to drive as much as
The
easy
paint's
as they
gonna
want
be
to get that pass out.
Right.
So
That's definitely gonna be
we'll
interesting.
definitely see that. But
I think I just got that 6 just because I don't think that Gobert's not gonna be as dominant as he was last series. They got guys that can actually like hold him down. I just think that Zubac is actually playing good basketball. Like you saw what they did in the last series. Obviously KP is not the same guy. Kristaps Porzingis from Dallas is not the same guy that Rudy Gobert is because Rudy Gobert doesn't shoot threes like he does. But they're the same size. Kristaps does get those defensive rebounds inside. And I think what they showed what they could do in Dallas, they'll be able to show what they can do here.
Right.
And obviously if you see Donovan Mitchell go off for like 40, 45, then he's going to win some games. He could take him to a 7-game series.
Right.
But I just think that it's just too much with, obviously PG and Kawhi. It's too much.
Nah, I hear you.
So I got Clippers 4-2. But it's going to be interesting to watch. And all these series, honestly, whoever goes in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference Finals is going to be so interesting. Like,
oh my
honestly,
God!
I think I pretty much I got Clippers. I got Clippers and and the Suns in the next one, which is obviously going to be really interesting. You got some young guys versus, some established veterans. So we'll see who wins that.
Like I said, I got Philly versus Nets and Denver versus Clippers.
Nice. So I think just in the Western we're different.
Just with the Suns.
Yeah. Because in the Eastern I'm the same as you. I got obviously Philly versus the Nets, and that's gonna be crazy.
It's not gonna be easy for the Nets. I don't think so. You think it is?
Yeah.
I don't think it is. That 4-1. That's wild. That must be the wildest prediction I've heard in a fucking
just because
while.
I watched what they did last game, and also just remember, like just 2 weeks ago, they were putting the Nets. They had this
putting work on them without all three.
Well, no, they had this like little picture on the ESPN.com that they were saying who is the best playoff team with 3 superstars on it, and they had they had LeBron with the Miami Heat, obviously they had Jordan with Pippen and Rodman, obviously they had Spurs, they had the Celtics, and then the 5th team they had was the Nets, and they already had him before they were even playing playoff games.
Of course,
they had the Nets with Kyrie, KD, and Harden before they even played any playoff games. So I'm thinking like just them, like people already know that this team is great. They're great when they're on the floor. They didn't play on the floor.
Multiple MVP winners.
Multiple.
As in what?
Yeah. and a guy that could
champion.
really, a guy that's really
champions.
one of the best clutch
Multiple
scorers
champions,
really in the game. In Kyrie, he's one of the best clutch.
And 3 of the best ISO scorers in the league. 2 of the best scorers that ever set foot on the court in the league. 2 of the best ball handlers in the league. Like, it's fucking ridiculous,
what they did
bro.
last series.
Fucking ridiculous.
They're actually
but they
playing
couldn't
at
get
full
fucking
strength,
CP3 could hold.
They're playing at full strength right now. Like they weren't playing at full strength in regular season. Now they actually are. These are the first like 5 games you actually got to see them together. And when they could score 100 points in one game, like I don't think you've seen that before. Like maybe a few, like 1 or 2 times in the history of NBA.
33 points easily each. That's just easily.
Like that is
easily
crazy. So I think just that might be a wash for the series, bro.
Oh,
that
yeah,
might be a wash
you.
before we see it. I mean,
hear you.
got a little more interesting. I'd like to see
hoping that
it.
defense over there in Milwaukee steps it up.
Right. And of course, I like to see 7 games. As an NBA fan, I want to see everything as a 7-game series. You know?
I love that pressure.
You're right. And speaking of series, we're gonna be talking about like some other things. You know, that we were talking about.
I would say last but surely, we got our series that we started last week. Who You Got Playoff Run Edition. Basically, we're going to go through the decades, pick our favorite playoff runs like we said. We started last week. I went with the 2010 Lakers domination by Kobe, Paul Gasol, Odom, Meta War Peace. Went out there, destroyed, got a championship. Right. That was an amazing run. And Yasin, who did you go with last week?
The 2014 Spurs, who won against some of the greatest players in NBA. They went through KG. They went through, obviously, Dirk Nowitzki. You know, and obviously they had to go through in the finals. You know, they had to go through LeBron, D Wade, and Chris Bosh. You know, when LeBron was trying to get his three-peat, and they stopped him from that. So that was one of the greatest series I saw in that decade. You know. From them, obviously, you know, you had Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, all those guys that we hear now that are Hall of Famers already. So
for sure.
You know, that's the team that I went with. But
definitely.
I'm interested to see what we do this week. I mean, this week we're going to be doing the decade of, you know, the 2000s to the 2010s. You know,
yes. And before we even get into the teams, we did wanted to talk about how at the end we do like to put the teams against each other.
Of course, we put them together in a 7-game series.
We put these teams up and thought who we thought would win. No surprise, we both picked our team in a 7-game series.
Of course, we both picked 7 games. But honestly, you almost had me convinced last week because you know you had Kobe in his prime.
Kobe
I could never
versus
go
Kawhi.
against.
Yeah, that was going to be a matchup.
And like I said, that was young Kawhi when he got his defense. He got Finals MVP.
Right,
for
playing defense on LeBron.
Playing defense on LeBron. You know, so that was a tough one to pick.
For sure.
So, you know, we'll see what we do this week. But
what decade we got this week?
So this week is 2000 to 2010, and we saw some great basketball in that decade. Oof. I mean, I know like. You know, everybody that's listening might not have saw the early 2000s of basketball, but there was some great ball going on the whole time of this era. Like this is the change, pretty much from a lot of fundamental team basketball to a lot of the isolation basketball. You know, like after the 2010s, it pretty much became ISO ball. You know, you had the best player on the best team. You know, taking the ball at all times. You know, he had the ball in his hands, facilitating, creating plays. You know, but this era was pretty much, you know, fundamental basketball. Who can really win together, and you needed a pretty good team to win. And bigs
with their back to the basket.
That's for sure. So should we get into who I had in this series?
Who you got for a playoff run 2000 to 2009?
So this playoff run that I had an early one. From the 2000s to 2001. There was one team that made a playoff run that nobody can imagine, and this team was the LA Lakers. So some people put this team along with the Chicago Bulls as one of the greatest playoff teams of all time.
I hear you.
The 1995-96 Chicago playoff run, they went 13-3. The LA Lakers in 2001, they went 15-1 throughout the playoffs with a 938 winning percentage. The best of all time to this day. They literally went through everybody, and I'm gonna go through, you know, who they went through, who were the teams that they went through.
Let us know.
This wasn't just a cakewalk, you know, that they actually, you know, just beat everybody right away. You know, these were some tough teams that they were playing.
Right.
You know, obviously the Lakers had Shaq and Kobe at that time, and I'm not saying Shaq and Kobe was better than Jordan and Pippen, but that playoff run, they really were on fire because obviously the Bulls during a regular season, that 95-96 season, they went 72-10. Lakers didn't do that; they were 56-24, but they also had one of the best playoff runs of all time. First were the Portland Trail Blazers with Scottie Pippen, Greg Anthony, Rasheed Wallace, Shawn Kemp, guys like Bonzi Wells, Ron Strickland, and Deadlift Shrimp.
Right.
And, obviously the first round back then was a 5-game series. They didn't have 7-game series at that time.
Right.
7 games didn't start until 2006, 2007. So, it was a 5-game series, but the Lakers made short work in it. Obviously they did their thing. They had a 14-point game advantage in each game. 14-point average, each game, and they beat them 3-0 at that time because it was a 5-game series. They beat them 3-0. And that Blazers team, obviously, guys like Pippen, who was scoring like 16 a game at that time, Rasheed Wallace, who was scoring 15, Shawn Kemp was scoring 13, and Bonzi Wells at 11. They had guys that can actually score the ball.
Right.
Next up, the Lakers obviously sweep them, and then they went on to the Sacramento Kings, who the year before gave the Lakers a 7-game series in the Western Conference Finals. But this year, the Lakers obviously do what they do with Shaq and Kobe. Kobe was averaging 26 a game in that series. Shaq was doing his thing with 13 points in the 13 rebounds and 24 points a game. And you had guys on the other team like Vlade Divac, Peja Stojakovic, Doug Christie, Bobby Jackson. These are some historic guys. Like that Sacramento Kings team, a lot of people are talking about it in history, and they see it as one of the greatest teams that didn't make the finals. So for the Lakers to go win and also sweep them, they sweep them, in a 7-game series. They beat them 4 games. It was pretty closer. It was closer than it seemed. A lot of the games were by 3 or 4 possessions. Some of the games went down to the wire. Some of them were like by 5 points, but the Lakers still went 4-0 on that one. And then they went on to play the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference Finals with Tim Duncan.
What a matchup.
Who was a crazy matchup to them. Obviously you had Tim Duncan versus Shaq at that time, who Shaq was the most dominant player at that time as a big man, and
he's the most dominant big man of all time.
I would think at his size, for sure. I mean, you got
not the best big man.
You got a
most dominant.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, you
easily.
got Kareem and you got Wilt, because at Wilt's time he was a little bit more dominant against the players he was playing. But if Wilt was playing against these players, you don't know.
Shaq will break him.
Right. But Wilt was playing against guys that were 6'7", 6'8".
Body size wise, Shaq will break him.
Exactly. So I kind of agree with you. As far as dominance. And obviously Kobe was young, up and coming. Kobe was drafted in '96. This was his 5th year in the league, going into the 6th year. So he was playing really great in these playoffs. This was their second three-peat. So they were really coming off of a tough one in the first one, but then they had to go, through San Antonio, who a lot of people thought they were going to win the Western Conference Finals. They were favored at that time. Nobody really gave the Lakers a chance, and the Lakers beat them 4-0. There was one game that was tough. It was game 2. It was 87-80. It was 7 points, but other than that, the other 4 games were an average of 22 points a game.
Back when they had real defensive battles.
Right. These are defensive matches, but obviously the Lakers were just tearing them up. Other than that, like 22 points over your opponent is ridiculous, especially a team like the Spurs who after that in 2004, they actually won the championship, so they were a tough team as well. They were up and coming team. And then the Lakers went on to play in the finals, the 2001 finals, who I actually look as a historic finals, because on the other side, you had a guy who took his team to the finals who nobody thought would. And you had Allen Iverson with the 76ers. He took his team to the finals against Shaq and Kobe. Now, everyone might have thought, that might have been a crazy, just a unmatched series because nobody can really take, Shaq in that series.
Right.
But actually, Allen Iverson played great in that series. Allen Iverson took him to overtime. In the first game, he won 107-101 in the first game. They were up 0-1 or 1-0 against the Lakers when everyone thought the Lakers were going to win. And that was the only loss the Lakers had in the whole playoff run. And to this day, the Lakers have the best playoff record, 15-1. The rest of the games, Shaq took over. Kobe actually, he had 26 during that series, 8 assists. I'm sorry, 8 rebounds. And Shaq was obviously doing his thing. He had 32 points a game. The Finals MVP, obviously. They took him in 5 games. It was a dominant performance. A lot of people look at other teams that are great, but this team pretty much dominated everyone they played, and these teams that they played were great. The teams,
the West was always tough.
They are, and the thing is, they played these same teams the year before. They played Portland, and Portland took them to 7 in 99, 2000. But then 2000, 2001, they swept them. Obviously, I was talking about before when they played Sacramento Kings, and Sacramento took them to 7 games, and then they swept them again. So obviously, this team going 15-1 in the playoffs to win that series against Allen Iverson, who a lot of people thought should have won a ring, one of the best to never win a ring, maybe. I think that was the best playoff run in that decade. That was the most dominant, best playoff run.
Fucking amazing.
It was an amazing playoff run.
For sure.
You got to see Shaq and Kobe doing their thing.
Oh, yeah.
What about you? Who you got for this decade?
So, this decade is when I first started watching basketball.
I like that.
I fell in love with I don't want to say small little team, because, I'm going to go down as saying the best franchise in NBA history. I'm a little mad the Lakers tied us last year, but I fell in love, absolute love, with the 2008 Celtics. Woo. That's the reason why I started loving basketball, man. I was a young kid, and like I said in the first episode, my love for the Celtics, obviously the big three was doing their thing. But I was drawn to the mental aspect and the IQ of the game, and watching Rondo play, specifically in this playoff Rondo, that was just something else. So this is when I fell in love with basketball. This is when I fell in love with the Celtics. This will always be my favorite playoff run. Obviously I'm my favorite team, so this was just something else. Let me walk you through this. 2008 Celtics. First round, we won 4-3, and like I said, when I say we, because I'm gonna make sure y'all know me. When I say we, I'm talking about the Celtics. That's who I fuck with. That's my team. I bleed green. So we won over the Hawks 4-3. Tough series. Won to the wire. Now over there they had Joe Johnson, Josh Smith, Al Horford, Marvin Williams, and Bibby. They had a couple big men, basically going out there doing their thing. Good defensive big men as well. But with all those bigs giving Garnett work, they couldn't do nothing. He was still giving you 21. Now, remember, averages were a lot lower in these years because this is defensive basketball. You know what I'm saying? So you don't got just multiple players out there scoring 30-plus in the averaging 30-plus like that, in the playoffs like that. So Garnett was averaging 21 that series. Pierce with 18. Ray Allen with 16. And Rondo with 11 and 7-6. 7-game series, went to the wire. They pulled it out, fought through. I loved watching every minute of it. I was all right, let's move on. Next series. Would you not fucking believe we had to fucking go face Cleveland?
Damn.
And a young LeBron. LeBron was giving us 26, 6, and 7. And that was it. Nobody else on the team honestly mattered. I mean, you had Ilgauskas, West, Joe Smith. Fuck all of them. They were trashed. So Garnett, of course, had no one stopping him with 19. Paul Pierce was giving LeBron a little bit of work. They both was giving each other work. Paul Pierce averaged 19.
Yo, I remember that series.
No, that was an amazing series.
You know what series that was, right?
Yeah.
And that was the series where LeBron cried.
Yeah, that was 4-3.
LeBron ended up crying.
That was 7 games.
They carried him. Remember, they had to carry LeBron.
Honestly, that was beginning for him, for his reign.
Well, no, that
was like
he even said that in an interview back in the day.
Oh, that
was the reason why he wanted to leave Cleveland.
Oh, that series.
It was because when he played, those 3 guys, he was like, well, why don't I just do it by myself? I just bring 3 guys in Miami. He said that in an interview, so that's very interesting. That they played him very tough that series.
Oh no, they really did. Like I said, it was a 7-game series. Garnett with 19, Pierce with 19. Rondo with 10 and 7, and Allen barely had 10, so he didn't really do much. But that was pretty much gonna be Pearson and LeBron going at each other. Rondo doing what he do with Garnett in the pick and roll.
Right.
So then you get to the conference finals. Now you're facing the Pistons. Ooh. Now these ain't the bad boys, but the defense was
I remember
known.
those Pistons.
Yeah, they had.
They won a ring.
Billups, Wallace, Prince. Yeah, them boys could play.
They won a ring in 04, 05.
Oh yeah. So we won 4-2 over them. Like I said, Garnett was just destroying. Mr. Anything was possible. Was destroying 23 during that series.
And he's going against Rasheed Wallace.
Exactly. Defenders. Well, Pierce also dropping 20 as well. So it's like you had all them wings and bigs and forwards who's supposed to be good at defense, and you had our two best forward and big just go ham. You know what I'm saying?
I remember watching that series. That was a crazy series because you had like a great fundamental basketball. Well, obviously the Pistons, that's what they were. They were a passing team with Rip Hamilton. And they were going inside with Rasheed Wallace. Ben Wallace was one of the best defenders, but KG, he was just taking over that series.
Yeah, and everyone decided to step up. I mean, even finally, Ray Allen started. He averaged 17 points in that series, so he finally decided to start shooting and stepping up. Basically, all leading to a very climactic showdown with the Lakers in the finals. So at that point, everyone's got to be at that game. You know what I'm saying? Top of their game to make sure everyone performs. Because over there, you got Kobe, Gasol, Odom, Fisher. Oof. Like I just talked about.
What a starting five.
In the 2010, the Lakers team that I picked, this is basically the same Lakers team. And if you remember last week when I spoke about them, this is basically the same Celtics team.
Right.
The Lakers beat the Celtics.
Right. You also got to say the Lakers beat them last year.
The Lakers beat the Celtics in 2010.
Yeah. But also in 2007, it was the Lakers winning, and then Boston came back.
We didn't
you didn't have the big three,
yet.
right?
Yeah.
And then they came back, and they won. Remember that? Yeah.
So once we got our big three,
with a vengeance, they came back for revenge.
That was that first year we got them together in 2008. Yeah. And we basically did our thing. So it was a 4-2 win over the Lakers, a little convincing.
Right.
You had Pierce taking over with 21. Rondo had his 9 and 7. Garnett had his 18, and Allen had his 20. Like I said, Allen stepping up, really becoming that shooter we needed, was crucial in that playoff series. Paul Pierce playing iso ball, taking on the best wings on the other team. Garnett, obviously, Defensive Player of the Year winner, real good defender, killing it on the boards, killing it on offense. Had him and Rondo on that pick and roll. Like, literally, for me, that was just magical basketball. Obviously, I love the Celtics. I love that team specifically. It always holds a special place in my heart. But I love great basketball, 08 Celtics, 01 or 2000 Lakers, 2010 Lakers, 2014, 2013 Heat.
This is great team basketball.
Like just 2016, 2015 Spurs.
And look at all the stars on the
basketball. Like I just love watching. Like it's like to me, it's an art. Just watching fluent, just like that ball movement, the great defense, the pick and rolls, to find the shooters open. And like I said, like you said, that was an era where things were starting to change. So that was just like a different type of magical basketball, and it's not what we see now at all. So
no, right now
that always holds a special place in my heart for that. So I don't know. So I got 2008 Celtics.
Oof.
You got
I got the 2001 Lakers that they won in 2001 finals. So that's let's think about putting these two teams together. Because like what you said about those Celtics, like you said, this is great. This is great basketball. What they were playing,
Oh, for sure.
Both teams play great team basketball, and I'm just wondering, obviously the Lakers and Celtics in 2007 and 2008 they played each other.
It wasn't exactly the same 2010, team as yours.
And they played each other, but it wasn't the same team at all. Obviously Kobe was there, Paul Pierce was there, but it wasn't the same team in 01. And I'm thinking like the 01 Lakers versus your 07, your 07, 08 Celtics. Who would win that? Who would win that in a 7-game series?
That's tough.
And I don't even want to like go into like what type of rules we're going into. We're going into the era of that day. Era that it was. Those type of rules. So it's very similar. Like we said, like it was a lot more fundamental basketball. So what do you think? Who you got on that one? 7-game series.
So obviously we started this series last week. So as soon as we knew what decade was coming up, my choice was easy to make. In
You were
my
waiting
head,
for this one.
yeah, I already knew what it was. 2008 Celtics. In my head, I'm like, I don't even give a fuck what team he picked. It's 2008 Celtics all the way.
They were a great team.
But fucking Shaq and Kobe, man.
I know, bro.
So I can't imagine any of these decade playoff runs we pick. I can't imagine any of them not going 7 games. So you're
no, for sure.
Everyone you're gonna hear, I promise you, they're all gonna be 7 games for me.
No, that's for sure. Those are the greatest series. Usually, the greatest series go 7 games.
Oh, easily. My mind is telling me Lakers, but my heart is telling me Celtics.
Of course, that's
and
your team,
I
bro.
honestly, just because I fucking hate these niggas, like I'm gonna have to go Celtics, but like I'm not that confident. Like, bro, who's gonna fucking stop Shaq? I mean, now mind you got Garnett, who's a great defender. So like it's just
you had
like
young
I said,
Rondo at that time too.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Obviously
Right.
still got Kobe versus Pierce. So, and then you got a shooter in Allen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That would be a great matchup.
So
Ray Allen versus Kobe.
Yeah. Ooh. So I'll be honest. I'm definitely going Celtics. It's gonna be tough. I don't think we can ask for better basketball for that. But yeah, I'm gonna go Celtics in 7. What about you? Who you got?
Yeah, I can't be mad at you. I mean, that's your team and everything, but I'm gonna tell you that like you're wrong.
Oh, you said Celtics in 7 too?
No, I got Lakers in 7, bro. Nah, I think you're wrong. Lakers. You said Lakers in 7?
No.
No, you said Celtics, right? Yeah.
Celtics
you're
in
wrong,
7.
bro. You're wrong. Because here's why. Like I said, the Lakers had one of the best playoff runs ever, ever in the history of basketball.
Come on, they let Allen Iverson and Mr. Nobodies beat their ass for one
You
game.
might think they're missing nobody, but they did have some great players. Like Aaron McKee was a beast at that time. They had some guys. Obviously Dikembe Mutombo was on their team. He was a little bit older,
right?
But you can't dismiss him. He was playing against Shaq at that time. Shaq did average 30, like I said in the finals at that time.
The most dominant center that ever stepped on the hardwood.
Yeah, but then again, if you look at like the body size, like Shaq and Dikembe Mutombo and Kevin Garnett actually match up together pretty well as far as body size.
Kevin Garnett was more stockier, more strength.
He's a better shooter as far as inside.
But he's a way better
shooter.
defender than Mutombo.
He's got more muscle as well.
He won Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, so Mutombo did as well.
And multiple. Bob said you said that Mutombo was all like.
True, but Mutombo was one of the best.
Prime, so you know what I'm saying.
As far as I'm talking about body style, long, tall, like defending. Inside the paint is what I'm talking about. Like long, skinny, tall. Because Garnett at that time he was still pretty skinny. He was obviously
right
strong, but he was not as
at the end of the day,
Shaq.
that was the only ring he won. That was his best prime. Like,
and everyone wanted to see that Shaq versus Garnett matchup, and they always did. Remember
of a good matchup.
when Garnett was in Minnesota, those were the matchups, was Garnett versus Shaq. But the problem was that Garnett was just so skinny at that time. Like, he did build up a little bit of weight.
That's why I said when he got to
Celtics.
Celtics, I think he was great defensive weight, great defensive strength. Obviously, he wasn't winning all the types of awards. He was still getting defensive player of the year, so he was still doing it.
And that's why the Celtics, like, I remember you guys had to pick up Kendrick Perkins at that time. And Kendrick was
he
the
was
guy.
a big man for that year.
And he was.
And that's what I'm saying.
And he was playing good. He had to go against Shaq.
He had good
at that
defense,
time.
too. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like we could have gave Shaq a little bit of trouble. You don't give Shaq much
but
trouble.
if we're talking dominant Shaq, 2000 to 2001 Shaq, the most dominant player in the game.
I'm more worried about him than Kobe at that point.
And are you gonna double Shaq or are you gonna double Kobe? Like,
we're doubling Shaq.
If you're doing like a little bit of hack a Shaq
easily.
If you're gonna do hack a Shaq, get him on the line. Like, yeah, he might miss 50%, but you get him on the line 20 times. He's gonna make 10 of his shots. He's still gonna be averaging 30.
8.
You think 8? It was still okay. If 8 out of what, 16?
Shit.
out of 20, but still, that's okay. Add that onto the points he's getting.
But
in the paint,
and then we still had Big Baby coming off the bench too. Like, we had bodies to throw at Shaq.
True. Now let me tell you the Lakers roster. They obviously had Derek Fisher, who was shooting threes.
Right.
Like, the point guards usually didn't shoot threes at that time, like they were, and Derek Fisher was doing it. They obviously had Rick
Rondo
Fox.
would have had his ass locked down.
That would have been a good matchup because they match up pretty well. Like, Rondo versus Derek Fisher, that would have been a nice matchup. But obviously, you got Rick Fox. You got Horace Grant, who was balling out at that time. They still had an old Ron Harper.
Who's guarding Pierce? Ron?
I mean, I think that would have been a Kobe versus Pierce thing.
Then
that
would have been
Kobe.
Allen.
So Allen probably would have won to somebody like Rick Fox. That's what it would have been. Yeah, it would have been like Rick or Allen. They would have switched it up. Pierce with Rick Fox and Kobe with Allen. something like that.
So
you know,
yeah. So my thing, it comes down to
but remember,
3 niggas dropping 20 a game versus 2 niggas dropping 20 a game.
See, I agree, but Kobe did play Allen, before when Allen was in the Supersonics.
Oh
exactly, I was just gonna say that, and he matched up with them great,
crazy.
And Kobe actually matched up in 2000, 2002, 2003. He actually matched up really good with them, so you can look at those matchups and you can see that
they probably could have let Allen guard him to begin with and keep Pierce off him to save his energy on offense.
What I'm looking at,
there's a lot of game plans we could have exploited.
See, what I'm looking at, you're looking at the two of the best coaches in the NBA ever. Doc Rivers, Phil Jackson. I'm looking at some of the best players in the NBA. KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Kobe Bryant, obviously Shaquille O'Neal. And you got other guys that are some of the great role players, like Rick Fox is a great role player, Derek Fisher, great role player,
right?
Tyronn Lue, great role player, Ron Harper, obviously before when he was on the
great at getting stepped over
Bulls, well, okay, yeah, that too, but he was actually a good player for them on the bench. Obviously Robert Horry. Let's talk about Robert Horry, who won 5 rings with like multiple teams, so nobody thought was gonna win. And I just think that team had too much firepower. Devin George as well, who was a top 5 NBA pick in the lottery at one point. He didn't plan out to be what the Lakers thought he would be, but they still picked him up as a nice shooter. He only averaged 10 minutes in that final series in 2001, but he averaged 6 points a game, which is something. And I just think they had too much firepower. Kobe averaging 26, Shaq 33. That defense with Shaq. I don't think that the Celtics could have overtaken him. It would have been a good series, but I think it would have been 7 games, and I got the Lakers winning that in 7, bro.
I mean, I hear you. Like, I get everything you're saying. Just for me, it's hard for me to bet against the Celtics. I obviously try to be unbiased, but you got to be betting against the 08 Celtics. There ain't no way.
And you know what? I feel you.
I can't choose anyone against them. I'll be honest. It might sound unrealistic, and they probably will lose. Put them up against the fucking 95, 96 Bulls. I don't care. Put them up. I don't care.
That's what I was trying to say.
Put them up against the Durant Warriors. I don't care. Put them up.
That's what I was trying to say with the Lakers, though. Like, a lot of people are talking about those Lakers.
The second best
that
team.
01 Lakers against those Bulls. They were talking about them against the Bulls as one of the best teams. So, seeing them against the Celtics would have been so interesting. But
great basketball.
But, like I said, I just think Kobe, in his prime, going into his prime, 01, 02, 03 was his prime. Shaq was already in his prime. They're just too much. They're just too much. And that would have been a great one. But obviously, I don't think either one of us is wrong because those Lakers-Celtics series always seem to go 7 games. Whenever they're in the finals, do they not always go 7 games?
2 most historic and franchise series in the NBA with countless handfuls of final series to back it up. So, yeah, that would be probably just top-notch basketball. You can't go wrong.
Right. I don't think either one of us can. Yeah, that would be a great one to watch, though, man. Kobe. R.I.P. R.I.P. Kobe.
That's a fact.
Yeah, but a great one to talk about and a great decade of basketball. And let's talk about some honorable mentions. I mean, obviously, like I got to give a shout out to Allen Iverson putting his team in the finals in 2001. Right. Obviously, we got to give a shout out to the Detroit Pistons winning. When everyone thought that you needed a star, and they brought in a team that had just fundamental basketball. Rasheed Wallace, Rip Hamilton, guys like that. And they won it without having a star on their team.
Right.
You got to give something to them. Obviously, the Spurs were doing their thing in the 2000s.
Won a couple rings. And,
guys like even LeBron, he brought his team in 2007 to the finals against the Spurs. A guy to do it by himself, again. So you got to give him another.
That was an amazing decade for basketball.
So, yeah, that was a great decade of basketball. And, I can't wait to hear, like, the other series.
Like it.
Yeah, I know. It really will because right now it's a lot more shooting, a lot more individual basketball. Well, it's you can't do it by yourself as far as like having a team with one star.
Yeah, no.
But as far as playing the game, it's a lot more individual basketball. Like it's iso ball.
Right.
One person takes the ball, goes inside, passes it around. Yeah, So it's like iso ball, but you can't really do it by yourself anymore, like you used to be able to. But that was a great one, yo.
Oh yes. I can't wait to get into the next decade. What do we have next? 1990 to 1999.
Ooh, and I already know who I am picking.
We already know
who I'm picking.
Oh man,
I already know.
So
the best ever.
Is it possible to have a team play the same team?
I think so, but Yeah, but not different, not the same year.
Right. We'll see.
Right,
We got
maybe
some
different.
options.
No, it is because
Right,
they
no,
have
for
different
sure.
players.
The different
players,
runs.
right? And
So
plus,
we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
plus
see.
different averages
I
in
gotta
both
look.
playoff runs.
I gotta look through.
Because I already know who I'm picking
See
now.
who
But
we
all right,
got.
we'll definitely have that for another talk.
I can't wait.
But we really appreciate you guys listening to
Yes,
this one. This
thank
was
you for the
a
love.
great one. This is our 4th episode, and we want you to keep, following us on social media.
Just getting started.
Yeah, and we're gonna keep going with it. Just make sure you guys follow us everywhere. We're gonna be posting stuff on our social media, and our podcast will be around. So.
And like we said when we first started, it's not just basketball. We just started with this because of playoffs. This Friday, we're dropping our first episode for another sport. We're dropping our first UFC episode based on the event that's going on this Saturday with Adesanya and Vettori headlining. So, like we said, we got all sort of different types of content. We're gonna make sure we keep you entertained. We're gonna give you stats. We're gonna give you talks. We're gonna give you debates. We're gonna give you stories. We're gonna give you everything we can. So we love the support. We love to listen, like, subscribe, and obviously we'll just keep
rate
doing what we
and
can.
follow us wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, sir.
And please send in your questions if you want to hear us talk about any debates, or you want to hear us talk about any questions during some matchup, or maybe there's a big fight going
fan
on.
Interaction.
We love fan interactions. We'll definitely get get into it more, once we get into the off season. But right now there's so much content to talk about that it's amazing to talk about so much basketball this late into the season, because
It's the
right
best
now
type of basketball, playoff basketball.
I know,
That's
and
what
right
it's
now
all about.
usually basketball would be done by now.
Right,
so
right.
to talk about it in the summer is pretty awesome. So I'm happy about it.
For sure.
But again, we really appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see you next time on Who You Got
With Mello.
and Rado. Thank you,
Peace.
guys. Peace.